Bezos gave to Trump's inaugural committee, has given other money. And what do you know? In response, Trump is gutting the National Labor Relations Board, to which Bezos and Musk have filed court motions to try and get a ruling to deem the National Labor Relations Board unconstitutional, because they are that fiercely against any attempts at unionization in their company. Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up. Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. Another day in the United Corporations of America. And I'll tell you, this corruption is just getting unseemly at this point. And sorry if I sound a little funky, look a little funky. I'm sick, but I wanted to get this out as soon as possible because it's just absurd and cartoonish corruption at this point. If you remember, a few days ago, it broke that Jeff Bezos, the world's second richest man behind Elon Musk, you know, that gnaws at him that he is number 2 behind Musk. He was transforming the Washington Post, which was already kind of an ode to capitalism. He was officially shifting the Post's opinion page, where columnists write, to be a celebration and embracing of personal liberties and free markets. I thought it was already that anyway, but officially they were not going to allow dissent from championing the free market and personal liberties. Check out my video I did earlier so you could see how much liberties and taking advantage of the free market Amazon workers get as they are forced to pee in water bottles and poop in their delivery trucks. But I digress. Well, guess who? That same night after Jeff Bezos announced that he was shifting the Post to becoming a 24/7 fetishizing of libertarianism, I guess, or social Darwinism, greed is good, Reaganism. Guess who he had dinner with that same night? None other than President Trump. You just can't make this stuff up. On Thursday, President Trump had an interview with The Spectator. The interviewer said, a lot of people who played a significant role in that election, and particularly on the tech side of things, have come around to support you. President Trump, unbelievable. I had dinner with Jeff Bezos last night, referring to Wednesday night, which was the same exact day that Bezos announced this change at the Washington Post. How much do you trust someone like Bezos, one of these billionaires, to be truly in that? Trump, who do I trust? I mean, who do you trust? Do you trust anybody? These are very smart guys. Moving on, if you trust him, he just paid a lot of money for James Bond. Do you trust him to make him great again? Referring to Bezos buying the Bonds series. Trump acting like he wasn't aware Bezos bought the Bond series. But I want to move forward to this part, which I think is the most important. Their priorities, speaking of Bezos, Musk, Zuckerberg, and the kind of populist priorities of your voters don't necessarily align on everything. Trump, probably. Are you going to have to tell them no on some of the things that they're going to ask of you? Trump, sure. I just do what's right. Oh, we know that. You know, I have a lot of money. I don't need money. I don't need anything. One of the things we're doing over here is very interesting. I'm a very good developer. I do it really good. So then he talks about how he wants to create a magnificent, beautiful ballroom in the White House. But he says he doesn't need Bezos's money. He doesn't need Musk's money, etc. Well, I've been covering Donald Trump and his presidential campaigns and White Houses for a decade now. And although it is true that he did fund his primary in 2016, pretty quickly after that, he stopped putting his own money in. So he does need their money and has happily been taking their money for almost a decade. He took Sheldon Adelson's $30 million back in 2016. Sheldon Adelson, he's died since, but he is was the Zionist casino owner, billionaire, Republican presidential people with aspirations to run for president on the Republican side would have to go kiss Sheldon Adelson's ring. Sheldon Adelson gave Trump $30 million for his campaign. And what do you know? Trump moved the Israeli embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which was explicitly what Sheldon Adelson wanted. Miriam Adelson, Sheldon Adelson's widow, gave Trump $100 million for his campaign this time. And she also is a mega Zionist. And what do you know? Trump is already basically initiating Israel to allowing Israel to officially annex the West Bank. And Trump is now talking about expelling Palestinians from Gaza to create Trump Gaza. But he doesn't need their money, and there's no quid pro quo, right? Elon Musk donated almost $300 million to Trump campaign. Frankly, he gave the most money of anyone, and Trump did not win, contrary to the media spin. He did not win a landslide election. In the Electoral College, it was close in many states. It could be argued that Elon Musk and his contributions saved Trump from possible prison, because if Trump lost, he was facing serious charges, particularly in the classified documents case, and possible prison time. So Elon Musk gave him $300 million. Trump has basically handed him the government as an unelected tech feudalist, to gut government agencies, to lay off potentially, we're talking tens of thousands of workers, possibly more than that, but there's no quid pro quo, and Trump doesn't need their money. Bezos gave to Trump's inaugural committee, has given other money. And what do you know? In response, Trump is gutting the National Labor Relations Board, to which Bezos and Musk have filed court motions to try and get a ruling to deem the National Labor Relations Board the one agency in government that actually provides workers some type of leverage, the ability to go on strike, the ability to organize and vote to join a union. They have gutted that because Bezos and Musk want it to be ruled unconstitutional, because they are that fiercely against any attempts at unionization in their companies. But there's no quid pro quo here. So Bezos literally announces on Wednesday that he's changing the Washington Post to celebrate and champion personal liberties and the free markets, which some could say is basically capitulating to Trump, even though Trump has never actually played in a free market. Trump got over $400 million from his daddy. That was his free market. Sorry, MAGA, that's the truth. Trump's dad handed him hundreds of millions of dollars. In Atlantic City, his casinos in particular, Trump's dad bailed him out from losing several of those casinos. So he's not a self-made man, despite the spin from Trump and the narratives. But Bezos announces, I'm shifting the Post right, and then dines with Donald Trump that same night. Nothing to see here. I'm sure they were talking about the weather and, who's looking good heading into spring training ahead of baseball season. And let me put a little bit more meat on the bone here as far as specifically what Bezos is getting for his money that he's giving to Trump, for killing the endorsement at the Washington Post, where the Washington Post was going to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris. He killed that. And now shifting the paper to basically, it seems, at least the opinion section, be a 24/7 cheering section for Trump. Why do we need that when you have the Wall Street Journal opinion page? In fairness, the Wall Street Journal occasionally calls Trump out. But this is from the American Prospect, who has done great work on Amazon's union busting, along with us. We were on the ground covering Amazon's union busting for years, and we covered the historic Staten Island union organizing effort a year before those workers voted for their union. Amazon argues that its now 3-year refusal to bargain with Staten Island warehouse workers who voted to unionize in early 2022 doesn't violate the nation's labor law. No, it also argues that its California, New York, Illinois, and Georgia delivery drivers who voted to join the Teamsters, who deliver packages from Amazon's warehouses, driving Amazon trucks, wearing Amazon uniforms, obeying Amazon's productivity standards, and who are surveilled by Amazon cameras in their Amazon cabs, aren't really union employees, since Amazon franchises out its driving operations to third-party contracting companies, which is just a way for Amazon to get around making them full-time employees. It should be illegal for them to do that, but this is America, and companies like Amazon and Jeff Bezos can basically do whatever they want. Even though the combined wealth of Bezos and Musk now exceeds an almost incomprehensible $500 billion, they have glimpsed spotty clouds on their earnings horizons. In 2024, Gallup put unions' approval ratings at 71%, while the share of Americans who had a, quote, great deal of confidence in big business stood at a bare 6%. Worse yet, the Biden National Labor Relations Board was imposing actual penalties like being compelled to enter collective bargaining on employers who illegally threatened or fired workers seeking unionization. For years, the only penalty imposed on employers had been to reinstate the workers they'd illegally fired, fork over their back pay, and post a notice in the workspace saying they'd violated the National Labor Relations Act, which is small potatoes when compared to having workers with whom they are actually compelled to bargain. And when Republicans controlled the NLRB, employers could often avoid these mini sanctions. In federal court in San Antonio, Amazon's attorneys have not contented themselves with simply contesting the constitutionality of the NLRB. They've also sought an injunction immediately forbidding the NLRB from issuing a final ruling on the case brought against it, arguing that to do so constitutes, quote, irreparable harm against the company, despite the fact that the NLRB rulings are not self-enforcing and that Amazon can appeal that ruling. In English, the Amazon wants to basically stop the NLRB from functioning, frankly, but from ruling against it in the fact that for 3 years they have, it should be illegally, failed to come to the bargaining table to make a contract with the Amazon workers in Staten Island, who historically won the first Amazon union in America. They already voted, they already won. Amazon has refused for years to come to the table and bargain, even though the National Labor Relations Act, legally, they have to. But laws aren't for Bezos or Musk. Speaking of Musk, as it came out this week, interestingly enough, Elon Musk, who now, other than Trump, who's got more power than Musk? I would say he's got more power than even the vice president. Elon Musk has, from the heavens, decided upgrades of the Federal Aviation's air traffic control system is failing, so SpaceX, his company, needs to take over Verizon's contract. You can't make it up. Elon Musk said Thursday that Verizon's effort to provide a critically needed upgrade to FAA air traffic control system is failing. And he said that it is important that Starlink, his unit of his SpaceX company, take it over. The Verizon communication system to air traffic controller is breaking down very rapidly, he said in a post on his social media platform. The FAA assessment is single-digit months to catastrophic failure, putting air traveler safety at serious risk. The situation is extremely dire, Musk added. Verizon has a $2.4 billion contract. Who would take that over? Elon Musk, Starlink. Is Elon Musk saying, hey, Verizon's not cutting it here, so we're going to have an open bid process to judge other potential companies to see maybe there's somebody who could get us up to snuff where we need to be if Verizon's not. No, we're not going to do that. I'm just going to award it to myself. I don't often do this, but I'm actually going to play a clip from MSNBC, which I thought just was kind of spot on about this. Chris Hayes and his guest, a Democrat, Chris Murphy, call this what it is: cartoonish corruption.
Amid all the arbitrary cuts and refusal to pay out contracts Elon Musk has bragged about, said that he has done, just to be clear, you might notice that none of those contracts, and we've tried to see, are any of those contracts that he's deleting, that he's canceling, are the contracts the federal government has with Elon Musk's own companies, valued over the years at up to $38 billion. Well, the answer is no. He hasn't canceled any of those. And now the Washington Post is reporting that the Federal Aviation Administration is close to canceling its $2.4 billion contract with Verizon and awarding the work to Musk's Starlink company. In other words, breaking an existing contract worth billions with an American telecom company for some of the most vital systems in American aviation safety, yanking it away in favor of the company run by the guy doing all the cuts and overseeing the contracts? It's both deadly serious and cartoonishly corrupt. Joining me now is a lawmaker who has been outspoken against all the claims of cutting waste, Senator Chris Murphy, a Democrat of Connecticut. I mean, every day, Senator, I find something where I'm like, this sort of tops what I had yesterday. The history of American corruption and most corruption is the history of people giving themselves government contracts. and here it appears to be just being done right in front of everyone's faces.
Yeah, the history of American corruption is that it happens behind closed doors and somebody discovers it. And the theory of the case here seems to be that if you are shameless about it, if you just do the corruption out in the open, that it legitimizes, normalizes it, and okays it. That is not true. That is not the case. What's happening at the FAA is a fundamental corruption, as you pointed out. Starlink didn't win the initial contract. Either they lost the contract because they weren't qualified or they didn't even make a bid. And the contract has been awarded. It's Verizon has spent a ton of money putting this system into place, and Starlink is just going to usurp the contract because Elon Musk can, and because the whole point of this enterprise is to make Elon Musk even richer.
I hate to say it, but MSNBC is right. And Murphy, to his credit, after Kamala Harris's loss, has been one of the few Democrats to come out. He is a typical corporate neoliberal Democrat, but he has come out saying, hey, you know, Bernie's been kind of right all these years, and maybe we need to shift to being economically populist. But this is not about, like, if you're watching and you're a Trump supporter and you're MAGA, that's fine. You know, I'm not trying to attack you, condescend. But this is no longer about like what team you're on. If you're a lefty, if you're conservative, if you're MAGA, if you're neoliberal, whatever. The bottom line is most people are against corruption. It's just that most people are so busy in their lives and aren't political diehards. They don't really live and breathe politics like you and I do. And they probably don't know how corrupt our system is. Our system has always been corrupt. That's why I call it the United Corporations of America. I've been calling it that for years. But typically, it's been more subtle. It's been more behind closed doors. Now, as he said, it's just out in the open to normalize it. This shouldn't be normalized. And it's not just Republicans. There's plenty of Democratic corruption I have broken and covered on the local, state, and federal level. Democrats are plenty corrupt too. But this is taking corruption, if it's a 9 out of 10 normally, to a 12 out of 10. This is creating a whole nother level. And you shouldn't be okay with this if you're a MAGA or a Trump supporter. You shouldn't be okay with Elon Musk getting to basically go in there, recklessly cut whatever agencies he wants with no real strategic plan, cutting government officials, and then, oops, I cut the wrong people. Let's try and hire them back. Cutting crucial agencies, and then, oops, let's try and, reinstate those agencies. He's not elected. I mean, a lot of Republicans called Obama a dictator and a king for doing too many executive orders, but you're silent on an unelected billionaire, the world's richest man, getting to a magic wand being handed to him, and he could cut whatever he wants, and he gets to stand in cabinet meetings as if he's the vice president or something. Come on. You got to stay consistent if you're conservative. You can't be okay with this. You're okay with him literally getting to just decide, this competitor over here, they're not operating the program fast enough, so I'm just going to award the contract to myself. This is vile corruption. We have to stand against it, whether it's Trump or Democrats. Status Coup, support us for as low as $5 a month. StatusCoup.com/join.